trade-off in assembly lines, labor productivity versus return on assets. When we design assembly lines, the main choice that we have is whether to make them largely manual processes that are operated by workers without a lot of equipment, or to make them highly automated with a lot of robots and with very little involvement of labor. If you make assembly lines manual processes, the productivity is usually low because those workers have to do everything by hand and it takes a lot of time. But you don't invest a lot in assets in this case like equipment, right? Like the robots or other equipment. So return on assets is high, but labor productivity is low. It's like this circle. If you go to the other extreme, you have few workers, but a lot of equipment, high investments in assets. And because of this, return on assets becomes lower. You have, maybe 100 times more invested in assets, right? You speed up the line maybe 10 times, but return on assets is still much smaller. However, the labor productivity becomes much higher because now for the very few workers, you produce a lot of products, right? So the choice is, again, where do we place ourselves, right? On this extreme or more on this extreme. And of course, it is usually dependent on how expensive the labor is. So for example, in the countries where the wages are very low, you can get cheap labor, right? Then it makes sense to produce more at this extreme. In countries where wages are very high, workers are very expensive to get, and it makes more sense to invest more in assets and operate with lower, smaller number of workers and higher investments in assets. And of course, I hope you see that something like balancing the line will actually get us on a higher frontier, right? Because if the line is imbalanced, you'll have a lot of inefficiency. So your processing, your flow rate will drop, and therefore your return on assets and labor productivity will drop when you have a line that is highly imbalanced. If you balance it, you move to a higher frontier. So this is the kind of improvement that is a win-win on both performance measures.